The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke. Jesus said to the Pharisees, there was a rich man who dressed in purple garments and fine linen and dined sumptuously every day. And lying at his door was a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who would gladly have eaten his fill of the scraps that fell from the rich man's table. Dogs even used to come and lick his sores. And when the poor man died, he was carried away by angels to the bosom of Abraham. The rich man also died and was buried, and from the netherworld, where he was in torment, he raised his eyes and saw Abraham afar off and Lazarus by his side. He cried out, "Father Abraham, have pity on me. Send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water to cool my tongue, for I am suffering in torment in these flames." Abraham said, "My child, remember you received what was good during your lifetime, while Lazarus likewise received what was bad, but now he is comforted here, whereas you are in torment. Moreover, between us and you a great chasm is established, to prevent anyone from crossing who might wish to go from our side to yours, or your side to ours." He said to him, "Then I beg you, Father, send him to my father's house where I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them, lest they come to this place of torment." But Abraham replied, "They have Moses and the prophets, let them listen to them." But he said, "No, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent." Then Abraham said, "If they will not listen to Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead." The Gospel of the Lord. Wow, St. Luke summarizes a lot of things in that Gospel. Notice how he moves in the resurrection, even if somebody should rise from the dead. And that is the reality of our faith. That is the only reason for gathering. So there's a great selection of readings today for our reflection and edification, and hopefully they challenge us to grow during the course of our week, not just something we hear, but something that we try to apply to our lives during the course of the week. What did you hear in the readings that prompted you or touched you? And that might move sort of like our group study at the present time. The first chapter of the book, which you have gone through now in your groups, yes? Good stuff, huh? Really good stuff. Man, powerful focus, the call of the disciples, and by association, our call as well, to leave behind your nets. What are some of the nets that we still hold on to that are not of value, and that we know that by listening to him and by the promptings? What promptings does he give us in the readings today about perhaps a net that we need to let go of, or some behavior, or some attitude, or some action that we need to change? And that is the constant theme for the readings when we come together on a weekly basis. What do I hear? And the second chapter of the book, which you will be studying this week, it follows directly on the first. It's an invitation to live as a blessing. Live as a blessing. And know that you are blessed. It's another very powerful chapter, and Linda Rooney delves into the core teaching of Jesus. The core teaching of Jesus is contained in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 5 through 7, something we've mentioned a number of times. There's nothing new beyond all of that teaching. In fact, it would be fair to say if we caught and understood The first 12 verses of that, we have all of the ingredients available to us in terms of what it really means to be a disciple. That is the section that we call the Beatitudes. They are outlined by Jesus. It's sort of like he's outlining his plan for all of us in terms of coming to relationship with him. He deals with 8 distinct attitudes. Linda Rooney says all 8 are very important attitudes that he addresses, but the first one is particularly important because it is the foundation of all of the others. We know it, we've heard it many times, and it goes, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." She paints a beautiful picture of the disciples on the mountainside listening to him. And they're thinking to themselves, what does he mean? Poor. How is poor a blessed state? And we might have the same confusion or issue in regard to that. We hear, blessed are the poor. We know in our hearts, no, being poor is not a blessed state. But we got to understand it in terms of what Jesus is teaching. He's not blessing poverty. He's not blessing the poor. What he is blessing is an attitude or a disposition of being poor in spirit. What does poor in spirit mean? That we trust him and that we are reliant on him. We believe everything comes from him. We spend a lot of time in life. It's really difficult to follow this attitude, this disposition in the Beatitudes. When we live in a world of such depravity, we're very attached to what belongs to us. We put up fences to mark off our boundaries, and we spend a lot of life trying to protect what is ours. We always have worry and anxiety that maybe the government will take it away, or a downturn in the economic situation in the world, or something else might take it away from us, a natural disaster, or even death itself. And we spend a lot of energy trying to hold on to and protect what is ours, because we say, we created it, we brought it about, it is ours. And they're all good thoughts, but in reality, it all belongs to him. And that is the attitude of being poor in spirit. I don't own any of it. I am nothing but a steward of all that has been given me. And the question is, what kind of steward am I? It's all his. And I might say, well, I earned it. I went to school, I studied, I got all of the knowledge how to do this. Where did it come from? It came from him. All of the knowledge and all of the ability and all of the action to do it. It's all his, and it's all given for the building up of his kingdom, not my kingdom. That's the attitude of being poor in spirit, and Linda Rooney does a great job of explaining that for us. Blessed are the poor in spirit, because they are aware of this reality. It's all his, and it's all to serve and to build up his kingdom. Not for me. And that is a great reflection for us. If we look at it in this way, life is a journey, and we're trying to learn all the way along. It's best seen on my trusty level, a continuum. Life is a journey beginning here and ending here. And it begins for all of us at birth. It ends at different periods for us. Because who knows what lies ahead? No matter how hard I try to protect or preserve my life, I am not in control. And in the Christian life, it's very similar. We make progress along the way. Now, if we were to say the ultimate goal and objective were love, right? Hello? Love. Is love the objective of the Christian life? Come on, convince me. Hey, love is absolutely and totally the objective of the Christian life. How much more can you get than that? The ultimate expression of love, laying down one's life for one's friends. So if love is here, and that is the ultimate goal and objective of the Christian life, what would you say is on this side? What keeps us from engaging that love? What is the antithesis of love? Hate? What else? Pardon? Fear? Worry? Anxiety? A whole lot of things. Pardon? Indifference. Indifference or apathy is the other side of this. And that's what we constantly find in the gospel. So apathy is here and love is here. More people avoid love in the world through apathy. More people miss the invitation to love through apathy than anything else in the world. All of these other emotions, hate, resentment, unforgiveness, unwillingness to reconcile, anger, resentment, judgment, they are all separate emotions. More people miss love through apathy than anything else in the whole world. All of those other emotions, they're preceded by apathy. At some point, I grow into a space and I say, I just don't care. I'm not willing to push myself further. And now we get a better understanding of the Gospels, a better understanding of the teaching. We look at the prophet Amos in the first reading, great little piece of our history. And understanding our history is very important. We say, we have an expression, history repeats itself, right? It's not a trick question. It's just a basic truism that we have in life. History repeats itself. And that's what the prophet Amos is talking about. We saw him last week in the reading, going off. He was a sheep herder, and he heard the Lord calling him to go and preach in the northern territory, the area of Jerusalem. This morning's reading, he says, "Oh, you complacent of Zion." Zion was another word for Jerusalem, a beloved word. "Oh, you complacent of Zion, you lay on your ivory beds and you lay in your sofas and you relax, while meanwhile the southern territory of Israel, Judah, is being destroyed. The Assyrians had destroyed the southern territory, conquered it, and the prophet Amos is saying, don't you care? Do you not realize that the same fate will come your way unless you do something about it? It's a constant mantra in our world. If we're not attentive, hey, so long as it's not here right now, I'm not too worried. I hope it stays away. Or let's go get them in another land before they come here, and all of these things that we think and practice. Prophet Amos is saying, are you not concerned that your people in the kingdom of Judah are waylaid and deserted and without? And that becomes the constant thing, apathy. It wasn't that they were against them, it was just that they didn't care. And so the parable really comes into focus in the gospel today. And we hear the parable, it's very easy to hear. We listen to it and we can even respond and say, oh yeah, I got that one. I know that parable. It's the rich man, poor man thing again. The rich man is bad and the poor man is good. Well, no, that's not it. It's much more detailed than that. Jesus didn't intend the parable just for them. He gave all of the core teaching in the Beatitudes. Nothing new beyond that. But all of the parables he gave were meant for all would-be followers. So as we look at the parable and attempt to apply it to ourselves, give an application in our own lives. And then we begin to understand the other parables that we've just listened to recently. Remember the parable? We had 3 of them 2 weeks ago. Parable of the Good Shepherd. What is that about? Hey, I am looking for everybody, not some, not just the good old ones. I am looking for everybody to come to my kingdom. Imagine if we grasp that in the world. Imagine if we acted as if we believed that in our world. What a change it would bring about. The way we talk, the way we respond, the way we hope, the way we trust, the way we believe, and not be apathetic to the circumstances of our brothers and sisters. What a difference maker. And so we understand that parable. Jesus saying, no matter how far away they have gone, I am still searching. We may not be, but I am still searching. And then the woman who lost the coin and probably a part of her dowry and the threat to her marriage, and she loses the coin and has a diligent search, the marriage is in danger of being called off. And now she finds the coin and says, praise the Lord. We're going right again. And then we had that great parable that we're all familiar with, the prodigal son. What is it telling us about the apathy? First son represents the attitude, give me the inheritance. I don't want to wait for you to die. I want the inheritance now. And so his father gives it to him. Goes off and squanders it. Maybe he found something significant. He turned toward his father again. We don't know all of the details or nuances of his return, but he came back. He found an appreciation for his father at whatever level, and came back to him and said, I don't deserve to be called a son. Hey, let me just be and have the benefits of your kingdom. The other son, God bless him, the other son, he hoarded the inheritance. You never gave me as much as a kid goat to celebrate with my friends. I've been here. I've been doing it all. I've been laboring all the while. What about me? He hadn't learned anything either. He had hung out with the father and had the benefits of all the riches and the kingdom, and still he was sour. It's a great contrast. And it's very much like, and we see some of the language being exactly the same in last week's parable and coming through again about being apathetic. His love is very dynamic and powerful. And if I just could understand, if I could get my head around the attitude of what it means to be poor in spirit and to know it's all his, it all comes from him, I would have everything to begin that journey of surrendering my nets and living as a blessing. The difficulty in today's parable was not that the man was rich. Jesus doesn't go around condemning rich, as some people think. He goes around challenging them to be aware of the fact that, hey, it's my kingdom. I have given you these blessings. All of these blessings are a result of my benevolence. Share them. Use them for the development and the nurturance of the kingdom. He wasn't condemning him for having riches. He condemned his obsession with his own riches to the point that he couldn't see the one in front of him who was in need. He might be in need of food. He might be in need of a word of encouragement. He might be in need of forgiveness. He might be in need of a word of reconciliation. But because I'm so self-obsessed, and the rich man was so self-obsessed, he couldn't give him just a little. A little would have gone a long ways in helping. His apathy toward the one in need was the issue. And so, maybe the question for us as we continue our small group study and continue to try and walk as his disciples, what nets do I need to leave behind? And then, can I really begin to live as a blessing, which is chapter 2?